here. This is our first episode of Under the Hood with CFAB. That's my nickname my buddies gave me a long time ago. Today we're talking about the inspection that all the cars here go through. We really try to keep a good quality control on the inventory here and make sure that all the major issues are addressed before you guys get it. We don't want to sell shady cars. That's not how we do things. And so today we're going to go over this demo 65 Vet. You can tell from the outside it's a very nice car. Came up with this just to go over all your basic things, everything from a check engine light on a newer vehicle to suspension parts, leaks, make sure we test the battery, make sure the battery's good, make sure the alternator's performing, make sure cables aren't on the exhaust or anything like that. Just make sure that, you know, a lot of these cars are custom built and sometimes they do it right, sometimes they don't. And so we want to make sure that it's right when you get it. And so to start with, we're just going to go through this checklist underneath the car. First thing is leaks, so engine, trans, axles, power steering, and coolant. So I've already done that on this car. The typical leak you see a lot is rear main seal. This car is dry. The drain bolt isn't leaking. I actually already changed the oil on this thing with a fresh Wix filter and fresh oil. So I put a new washer on there as well, so no leaks there. A lot of times the speedo cable will leak too. Those are the three most common. Even where the case splits like this, sometimes it'll leak. But this car is dry, so that's perfect. Moving on to the axles, this car's independent rear suspension. And so the differential up at it, the output seal is good on both sides. And the diff cover looks good as well. And then also moving forward to the input seal, we see that that's dry. So axle's good. We can move back up to the front of the car. The power steering system, these Vets kind of have a weird old school power steering setup on them. You have a pitman arm and a steering box, more like a truck. But if you look, the input seal is good and the output seal is good as well. And so last thing is coolant. And I've already looked at the cooling system. Don't have any leaks, the water pump or radiator or anything. And something I noticed that's actually pretty interesting is they've grounded the radiator. A lot of people don't know when you put these aluminum rads in, you can have problems with electrolysis. And so that prevents that. Electrolysis, if you have a bad ground in your engine or something like that, the current will actually flow through your coolant and rot your radiator from the inside out. So that prevents that. So someone put this car together, they really know what they're doing. Next thing here is suspension. Going in, checking our tie rods. So just checking for play, looking at the condition of the boots. Everything seems good on here. Pitman arm's tight. The idler arm here is tight. Those like to wear out a lot. Everything looks good. Shocks, this car pins here. Last thing you want is the nuts coming off on those. Upper and lower ball joints look good all around. And steering, just checking for play. I've drove this car, everything feels tight, and it feels just as tight underneath the car as well. And wheel bearings, I'll take it off this 4-post lift, jack it up, check each wheel for play. That checks your ball joints and your wheel bearings as well. And even the tie rod ends to make sure everything's nice and tight. And then so we'll have to go above the car shape. I take a note of the date code. If the battery's 5 years old, it probably needs to be replaced anyways. And then start the car, check the alternator voltage, make sure we're getting at least 13.5 volts. Last thing on here is brakes. Now this car, I've already gone through the brakes, and when we got it, both drivers' calipers were leaking. So brand new calipers, fresh paint to match it. Cut out some custom stencils to match the Corvette logos that were on here, and bled the brakes with new pads. Good to go. Drives great now. And then the last thing on the underside of the car here is exhaust. And so we can see these headers. They look great. We have nice coated headers. They have heat wrapping most of the way back. Keep your floor cool. Last thing you want on the hot summer days, your trans tunnel 1,000,000 degrees cooking you to death. So that's good. And that's about it for the underside, guys. I guess let's go to the top side. I'm gonna show you guys what we do underneath the hood and also look at the tires and some of the other parts. So let's get this thing dropped down and move up. Okay guys, we're on the top side of the Vet here now. Beautiful engine bay. Something I'm looking for is just anything obviously out of place. Obviously safety related too, but just cosmetically. I don't like wires exposed, to tape and wire loom on there to make things look nice and also be protected. And so going down the list here, basic fluids check, engine oil, transmission, in this case it's a manual, but if it's auto, get it hot, check the dipstick. Coolant, check the coolant, not only the level, but the condition. If the coolant's muddy looking or rusty, we'll make sure we change that out. Brake fluid, same thing. A lot of times the car's brake fluid's old and black and rusty, and that causes a lot of corrosion issues internally in your brake system. So Make sure we flush that out. Wipers, make sure the wiper blades are nice and soft and supple. Last thing you want to do is turn your wipers on and scratch the windshield when the rubber is dry rotted off. And also look for things like hoses. Like in this case, the hoses look excellent. You actually see these really nice Gates heat shrink hose clamps on here. I really like the look of those. Rated car, check all the soft fuel lines, check the clear fuel filter a lot of times you have. Make sure it looks great on it. Steering, power steering system. Once again, check the fluid level, check the hoses, make sure nothing's getting rubbed through or rubbing on a pulley or anything stupid like that. And AC as well, check on those hoses and all the fittings. The AC in this car works excellent. And filters as well, air filter. This thing's kind of cool. It's got this basically cold air intake with a pod filter inside here. You don't really see that too often. The last thing you want is your engine trying to breathe its own hot air right next to the headers. So I like to see that. Fuel filter, this one has an intake filter, so that's not applicable here. And oil filter, like I said, guys, brand new oil change with a Wix filter on this guy. And last on the list here, we have tires. Make sure the tires all look in good shape. No cracks in the side wall. They have good tread. They don't leak. If the tires leak, we make sure we address that. We don't want to just fill it up and send it down the road and let you deal with it. So, and then at the end, do a test drive as well. I've drove this car. This car drives excellent. It drives just like a Vet 30 years newer than it is. So overall, guys, I just wanted to show you, we don't want to just put something up online and just move it up the road. And so we're doing more of these in the future. So if you guys please like and subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you on the next video.